So I have decided to make a tier list of all races that I currently own. Remember that this is my tier list, and that it would most likely be different from yours. Okay, so let's start off with amphibians. They have 6 warriors of their dominant caste, the toad, which is not bad. The crush ability of the toads is good and can eliminate an enemy warrior immediately. But the ability is quite finicky to pull off. The other warriors, salamanders, chameleons, and frogs, are nothing special really. This is not a very strong race in my opinion, therefore they belong to D tier. Next, armored. Their main gimmick is their Tridacna. These units works as a dimension door network for the armored warriors. You can pull off some surprising things with these units. The Glyptodons, the dominant caste, are very slow units but sturdy warriors. This race is fun race to play, but mediocre at best. I think they belong in C tier. Okay, so next are the Atlanteans. Their dominant caste, the Tritons, can control blue holes, which gives them the ability to exit through any blue hole they wishes. This includes even in their own map. Needless to say, this is a powerful ability. This also includes any units that the Triton is riding on as well. Their blue whale warriors are very strong with power 5 and vitality 6. The main issue with Atlanteans is that they are somewhat stuck on water, because a couple of their units must crawl on land. This makes them more or less a one-trick pony, and are very dependent on who they face off against. Even with this shortcoming, I still think they belong to B tier because of their strong units and blue hole control. Next up is Atomics. Several of their units can push enemy warriors around. Pushing can be a very strong ability when used correctly. Their Accelerator unit can push an enemy warrior from a distance, and even in any direction they wishes. The dominant caste, Atomic, have the ability to throw atomic mines, which are an explosive ranged weapon with power 4. Atomics are a well-rounded race. None of their units are particularly weak. I believe they belong in high B tier. Next race is Barbarians. They don't really have any unusual abilities. Their mammoths can sweep with power 3 and transport a halberdier warrior. Other than that, they almost have nothing else up their sleeves. Their dominant caste, Barbarian, have power 5, vitality 4, and there are 5 of them. These are easily the simplest race that I own. Barbarians belong to low C tier. Okay, Chimeras is next. Chimera's main ability is that when any non-infantry caste warrior is eliminated, it is replaced with a she-soldier, if one is available, that is. She-soldiers is the infantry caste warrior. The warriors are riding lions, scorpions, and dragonflies, and when the animal is killed, they must kill the warrior riding it. The ability is fun thematically. The main issue is that it's predictable and somewhat easy to play against. Chimeras I rank as low D tier. Next, the Chinese. The warriors can shoot a firework. This is a ranged weapon with explosive capability. Even the infantry caste have the ability to do this. Emperor, which is the dominant caste, can respawn terracotta warriors. But the Chinese dragon is the star of the show. They can shoot fireworks similarly to other warriors, but they can also combine their range and powers for one long-range powerful attack. Chinese are powerful race with some tricks up their sleeves. They belong to low A tier. Up next is Egyptians. Their warriors is quite the mix. Their dominant caste Horus are flying with an explosive weapon. Sobek, their second intermediate caste, can throw a harpoon and drag them towards them. And Anubis, their first intermediate caste, can save adjacent warriors from death and also possibly one-hit kill any enemy warrior. Egyptians have a cool theme. The warriors are fun to play and they are strong. I rank them high, A tier. Next we have Elementals. Their main gimmick is that most warriors can attack 2 non-adjacent hexes simultaneously. They have some flying warriors and a warrior that can move across oceans and even across another map by the water. Any race with multiple warriors with flying is a strong race in my book. And mix that with some semi-explosive weaponry attacks. They end up being a strong race. They go in low A tier. Okay, next up is Fluidians. Multiple Fluidian warriors of a lower caste can merge together to become one of a greater caste, and vice versa. The ability seems great on paper. But for me, I had not much success with it. You are not really gaining much from it. It gives you some flexibility, but your power remains somewhat the same. Fluidians to me is just not very good. They go in bottom D tier. Up next we have Ghosts. The dominant caste warrior, the Ghost, can doom enemy warriors, which turns them into an undead after being eliminated. And also, the Ghost can materialize and move past any obstacle. The Vampire, second intermediate caste, can fly and transport undead warriors. They have some unusual abilities such as Ghost can turn into rock. I have never found myself really using this ability. It's a defensive ability and is very situational. Otherwise, their warrior statistics are mediocre. I rank them middle C tier. Next are the Giants. The Giants have very tough warriors. The Mountain Warrior, when standing in or adjacent to a mountain hex, have 7 vitality and sweep power of 7. Hurricane, the dominant caste warrior, can fly and sweep, which knocks every adjacent enemy warrior away. Both Lava and Mountain Warriors can disappear and reappear in a hex of their matching type, up to 10 hexes away. The Infantry caste, the Giant, are very strong for being an infantry warrior. They have 2 power and 3 vitality, with a weapon of power 3. Probably one of the strongest infantry in the game. I rank Giants mid tier. The next race is Glacials. Glacials is mostly pushing their enemies to their demise. Steinbocks, the dominant caste, can ride the Yak, the second intermediate caste. This is quite powerful, as they can then retaliate as one. Steinbocks can also create ice, which makes it so that they always guarantees to be on their specialized terrain. For me, Glacials goes in mid-C tier. Now the Half-Elves. The Swan Woman can attract enemy warriors towards it. This is useful to finish off enemy warriors without exposing your warriors too much. The Evocator can attack with 5, 6, or 7 power without retaliation, but with a risk to eliminate itself. They have some hit and movement capabilities. Their warriors are generally quite weak stat-wise. I have not had a high win rate with this race. I rank them as low D tier. Next we have Hydras. Hydras is one of those races that can replenish their warriors. More specifically, their dominant caste, Hydra. I would say that from the races that I own, these do it the best. There is no random chance to it. You can more or less always send in 4 Hydras to attack and respawn 4 new, at the beginning of next turn. Their first intermediate caste, the Coral, can place coral barriers. These can be useful to block the paths of the enemy. Overall, I like the Hydras quite a bit. I would rank them in mid-B tier. Next up, Mages. Mages are another one of those races that can replenish eliminated warriors. A mage can either generate a living armor or a lightning dragon, and multiple mages can combine their powers to increase the odds of success. The lightning dragons are very strong flying creatures that can shoot explosive lightning balls towards their enemies. The fairies can generate protective fields that boost the vitality of adjacent friendly warriors by 1. Mages are a top-tier race. The ability to constantly respawn the lightning dragons is very powerful. Assuming that you can keep the mages safe. For me, they belong to top S tier. Now, Magnetics. They have very strong dominant caste, the Magnetic, that are power 5 and vitality 5 with flying. But they also receive +1 power, +1 vitality, and reflip when they are adjacent to a non-dominant caste warrior. Same goes for other warriors in this race, but instead they get their boost when adjacent to a dominant caste. A Magnetic can also grab another warrior and fly with it, so more or less guarantee the boosted stats. Magnetics is a very strong race with fast and tough warriors. I rank them low S tier. Up next we have Masters. Masters are all about the Archangels. They can convert enemy warriors into Disciple, their infantry caste warrior. They can even do this from great distances, if multiple Archangels combine their powers. The thing is that you have 8 Archangels, and 3 of them will be even more powerful than usual. They also have Luotaurus, which are flying lions with power 5, and Vitality 3, and Hornbutt of Power 3. Masters is great, theme is also cool, and they have interesting powers. Bottom S tier. Next is Northerners. Every warrior of Northerners have the capability to fly. That in itself is a massive boost. Odin, their dominate caste, can generate a lightning storm, an explosive weapon of power 3. Thor can create an earthquake, an explosive weapon of power 2. And Loki can shoot fireballs with power 3 and range 4. All units have good stats as well. Even their infantry caste, the Valkyrie, with power 3 and vitality 2. Northerners belong to mid-A tier. Up next is Pachyderms. This is an African animal-themed race. Their race consists of elephants, rhinos, and hippos. Elephants can sweep with power 6. Rhinos can hornbutt with power 3. And hippos can bite with power 3. The stats are average across the board. I like the theme a lot, but they are okay at best. I rank them top C tier. Next we have Redeemers. They have a lot of powerful abilities going for them. For one, their fortresses are instead warriors that can move and attack. Also, they work as dimension doors for their army. Their dominant caste, Redeemed, can take control of enemy warriors. Their infantry caste, Damned, can disable enemy warriors. Also, once per turn, a warrior from the race have a chance to come back to life. All of these abilities are top tier. Having a private dimension door network is always extremely powerful, and add to that the ability to take control of enemy warriors and free respawning. Redeemers go in mids tier. Next is Samurai. They have a couple of interesting abilities. Their geisha can overlay an enemy warrior to disable it. Fumage, their second intermediate caste, can turn enemy warriors to smoke. The Fumage can also give a warrior the ability of flight. The Samurai, their dominant caste, can spit fire with power 4, and their stats are power 5 and vitality 5. They also have 6 Samurai warriors in total, which is a good amount. But other than the Samurai, the other warriors are very weak and very susceptible to attacks. Despite most of their warriors being weak, the Samurai make up for it. I give them high B tier. Up next is Sargonidians. First of all, their infantry caste, Cowgoats, are also their fortresses that can move around. This by itself is very strong, as you can move away from enemy warriors. Second, their dominate caste, Astarte, can shoot love arrows that have unlimited range, and if it hits, Sargonidians can move the enemy warrior. This is an incredible ability, if not the strongest of all races that I own. You could move an enemy warrior closer or further away depending on the situation. Adad, their second intermediate caste, is a flying with power 5 and vitality 4 that can throw lightning bolts with power 3. They can cause some real devastation. Sargonidians are the strongest race that I own, so they go in top S tier. Next we have Saurians. Saurians have Terex, Triceratops, Pteranodons, and Raptors. All their units are quite straightforward, no real unique ability really. Pteranodon can lift an enemy warrior and move it 1 hex, possibly killing it in a chasm or volcano. Theme-wise, Saurians are my favorite. I mean, who doesn't like a race based on dinosaurs? Sadly, they are not that strong. They go in high D tier. Savanners is up next. Their dominate caste, the Giraffe, can avoid an attack by moving 1 hex away, possibly causing the enemy to completely miss their attack opportunity. Both the Buffalo and Gnu can hornbutt with a charge. Their stats are medium-low. I give Savanners a low C tier. Up next is Snakes. Snakes' second intermediate caste, the Ouroboros, can join together to become one giant snake. This would combine their power and vitality stats. If one would combine them all into one big snake, it would be a 12 power and 12 vitality warrior. The problem is that you cover less ground because they would all be concentrated in a single area. I found it kind of awkward to use the Ouroboros efficiently, but the idea is cool. Their dominate caste, the Royal Cobra, can prevent enemy warriors from defending themselves. And the Sea Snake can bite with a power of 5, but only have 2 vitality. I have not had much success with this race. I'll give it top D tier. So next up is Solars. A couple of warriors can attack with ranged weapons in an unlimited range. Their infantry can disable enemy warriors from a distance, but only when adjacent to a sun, their dominant caste. Aura, their second intermediate caste, can respawn a fallen warrior each turn. They also boost vitality of adjacent warriors with +1. Their Ray warrior can move unlimited distance in a single direction. Solars have access to a bunch of good warriors and abilities. I rank them top a tier. Next are Sultans. Their dominate caste, Sultan, have a genie each. The genie can respawn a fallen warrior back into the battle. If a Sultan is eliminated, their genie is left where they died. So any enemy warrior can potentially pick it up and use it for their own benefit. They also only have 3 genies in total, which limits their respawn capabilities. But the ability idea is really cool. Then they have Griffins, which are power 6 and vitality 3 flying warriors. I rank Sultans mid-C tier. The next race is Taurians. The Minotaur, their dominate caste, can build labyrinths. Labyrinths work as their own dimension door network for the Taurians. Their Rams, their second intermediate caste, can push targets with incredible power. They can eliminate even the strongest units in the game with this pushing power. The Gazelle is very fast, which is useful to quickly run behind a target being charged by a ram. The Taurians can be quite strong in the right hands. They require proper planning to utilize properly. I rank them low, B tier. Lastly, we have Templars. Their main ability is that their Templars, the dominate caste, can create holographic projections. These defend as a regular Templar, but when defeated just disappear. They can then create new projections again at the end of their next turn. Each Templar, including Master, have 2 projections each, and they only work in defense. This is a quite luck-dependent ability, as the enemy could either guess and attack the correct or incorrect Templar. Regardless, I rank this ability very highly, as wasting time trying to defeat holograms will waste lives and time. Their other warriors are nothing special. They have a winged horse that have 3 power and 3 vitality with flying. I rank Templars mid-B tier. This concludes the tier list. Warangel is an awesome game with so many varieties when it comes to races and their maps. It keeps impressing me the more time I spend with it, but there are some things that are usually true to most races. A race with high mobility is usually a strong race, as you can then control the flow of the battle. Anyways, thanks for watching to the end of the video.